What up? What up? Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. On this podcast, we talk about crowdfunding. And specifically, we talk about how to get funding for your passion, how to get funding for your projects, how to get funding for your products, your startup, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. The number one thing that is holding you back, and most people say is holding them back, is the fact that they don't have freaking funding, man. They don't have the resources to pull something really big off. But there are other things also that hold us back, in terms to get extra traction when it comes to a new product, in order to get a river of people that are checking this out, that are giving you feedback. One thing that's holding a lot of people back, I think, as well, is just needing to get that kind of tribe that goes into any kind of brand that you're trying to launch. So there are a lot of things that hold us back in life. And what I try to do with this show is, number one, deliver to you straight those tips, those techniques, those tools that can help accelerate your dream, that can get you moving in the right direction quickly, and also discover some of the things that you might not know about when it comes to running a successful crowdfunding campaign. The other big reason why I started this podcast back in 2015 was that I really wanted to share success stories with you. And for me, this is just based out of frustration, man. I was hearing so many success stories from my students at that time who read my blog, crowdcrux.com. I was just beginning my YouTube channel, and I've heard so many success stories, the things that were working, things that weren't working, the tools, the techniques, all that kind of stuff. And I would go and I would talk to people about this, and they'd be like, no way, Sal, no way that people are pulling this off. There's no way this person can raise, in today's episode, more than $390,000 for a wallet on Kickstarter using crowdfunding. And I'm like, yes, it is happening. It's happening. But no one would really believe me. So I started this podcast to share with you examples of these success stories, to inspire you to take action every single week, to make a little bit of progress towards your goals, to really put a stake in the ground, and to just keep plowing that boulder up the hill. You have to keep taking action, chipping away at it. And before you know it, you can have a mega six-figure campaign. Today's guest was able to attract more than 3,000 backers for their Kickstarter campaign. And you're going to hear all about that today, as well as kind of what went into the actual strategy to launch this. And also, if you've been following Kickstarter campaigns, you will probably recognize this brand today, because it is a very popular brand in this particular, realm, as you say, when it comes to new Kickstarter projects that have been coming out. So this is mega news. In addition, I've always tried to put together useful and helpful resources for you leading up to a crowdfunding campaign. So I have 2 free links that I want to share with you today, and I'll also include a link at the end of the show if you're interested in learning more about some of the other things that I do when it comes to my work. So first of all, if you want to learn more about crowdfunding, one of the best ways to do that is just to hop on my newsletter. So I have a newsletter that's called Killer Crowdfunding Tips, where I share new advice, new tips, new techniques, things that I'm learning every single day that I want to share with you, things that you might not know about in this industry that can really just kind of help you get to your result much faster. So if you're interested in discovering some of those killer crowdfunding tips for free, all you got to do is go to this link at crowdcrux.com/newsletter, at the link crowdcrux.com/newsletter, crowdcrux.com/newsletter. Just go there, enter your name and email, and you can start to get access to some of these tips that I am sharing with my audience. In addition, if you would kind of like more of a hand-holding, A to Z, start from the beginning, learning how to launch a Kickstarter campaign, you've been listening to these podcasts, maybe you want a little bit more, you're just kind of looking for some more information when it comes to this. I have a great free course out there on Kickstarter that I would love to share with you. And this will, again, get you up and running when it comes to how to launch one of these campaigns. What do you need in order to actually go live? And also some of the things that come into actually running a successful campaign that most people do not discuss in the public eye. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to the link I'm about to mention, and you can join my free course there. That link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. Again, that is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter will take you there, and you can enter your name and email, and you will start getting some emails from me. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I really want to kind of get into it right now in terms of how this individual is able to smash past their goal, able to raise over $390,000 from more than 3,300 backers, and it's coming up right after this. If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured, I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you, and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfillrite, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist and it's free, you can go to fulfillright.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillright.com/checklist. fulfillright.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. And today we have a mega campaigner in the house who's raised over 300,000, more than 2,800 backers. And this is not his first rodeo. He's also done a couple of other projects, which are super exciting. We have Dale here on the show. Dale, welcome to the podcast.
Hey man, how you doing?
Awesome. Well, first of all, this is, like I said, not your first rodeo. Maybe you can just kind of share with the audience a little bit about your experience so far with Kickstarter. I know you've done a couple of campaigns so far.
Yeah. This is the third campaign. We did a campaign. The first one was in early 2019 with it was a cell phone grip. We call it the phone grip that doesn't suck. It was a little metal thing that you slap on the back of your phone that had a sort of slap bracelet mechanism built into it. It was actually a really, really fantastic grip, but we had issues with sort of the reliability of it, and we ended up having to pivot really quickly. So we did the Kickstarter on that one, and I think it was October 2019, and we raised, I think if you look at the campaign page, it was between 500 and 600K, and then we did another couple $100,000 on the back end with upsells and things like that. And then we shipped all the product December, January, and then by basically late February, early March, kind of right as the pandemic was kicking off, we realized that product had a durability, longevity issue where that band became susceptible to sort of repetitive stress fractures essentially, and the band would basically snap in half. And so we, after shipping 10,000 replacements on our dime, realized that this is not a healthy model. We need to pivot as quickly as possible. And it was right at the time, I kind of learned during that campaign that wireless charging was a really important feature. And so in about a month, I pivoted and kind of locked myself in my house over the entire month of March with a 3D printer, and sort of figured out, me and my partner, on how to reconfigure the design entirely. Came up with this entirely new design, which is the circle grip design you see now. We built a magnetic wireless charger with it, and so that combo launched on Kickstarter. I think it was May of 2020. Did 1.2 million on that, plus another few $100,000, or maybe it's 400,000 to 500,000 on the back end with other accessories that we came up with during the campaign and launched during the campaign as add-ons. And that sort of kicked off our business in sort of the phase we're in now, which is we're selling a modified version of that grip. But I can get you the wallet if you want. But that's sort of the history.
Yeah, very cool. And honestly, I think what's so impressive as well, you mentioned that big number. You had over 27,000 backers. That's a lot of orders to fulfill, right? With that, have you always been a product designer or a creator, or where did you really get started with that?
Yeah, I've always been a product guy. I've loved, even when I was a kid, I loved just inventing physical things, elementary school and above. So yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. I started a company called Small HD, which was a high-end filmmaker display, essentially like a small portable outdoor viewable display you would pair with high definition video cameras. And that started out by, I was building homemade projectors in my friend's dad's basement, and then we started a small production studio. And it was right at the time digital video was kind of starting to kind of replace film in early 2000, 2006, 2007. Realized that we needed a monitor to monitor a high definition video, and then because the projectors I was building was sort of overlapped a lot of because you need an LCD and a driver board to build a projector like that. I knew where to source that stuff, built my own monitor, started selling them on eBay, and that's spun off into ultimately a $30 million business called Small HD. Became an industry leader in the space. And so that's sort of just me. I love building products to solve my own problems and seeing if I can turn a business out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's super cool, and also an interesting way to look at the world, right? Is all these different problems which you can solve on your own. A lot of people are just like, I go into a store and buy something, but it sounds like you're kind of designing those unique solutions, right?
There is, and there's always a better way to do something. Always. That's just fact. And so if you can identify that thing and it checks the right boxes, that okay, this isn't going to be overly complicated or too big for what you can handle as a person, or you're based on your experience or your funding or whatever. And that's what I look for. I just look for opportunities that check the right boxes, and that's what led me to Snap.
One of the things I noticed, particularly about your current campaign, right, the MagSnap Wallet, and your previous ones, is that you have a really minimalistic kind of design sense, right?
Yeah.
Is that just kind of natural to you, or why do you approach designing that way?
No, that's a learned skill. It really is. I just started to notice once you design a few hundred products or whatever, you start to realize that there's sort of some natural synergy or balance in the universe that exists that I don't think we've quite figured out, but that usually the simpler solution is the better solution. And so I kind of, anytime I'm trying to design something mechanical or physical, you're trying to solve a given set of problems, or you kind of try to scope, the check boxes or the features you're trying to add to the product to solve a particular set of problems. And that really, really helps to try and massively constrain yourself in a few different axes. And then, as you're going through it, you kind of every once in a while, and it's a cyclical thing. You kind of design, and then you zoom out and you look at it, try to put on some consumer goggles and go, does this thing look ridiculous? Like, I mean, people are easily overwhelmed by, something looking too mechanical, looking too crazy. And so it's something I always aim for. And usually at some point, things just sort of click into place where all of a sudden, you're trying to solve a set of or a given set of problems. You design something that's just really complicated, but it does solve the problems. And you're like, this is just too complicated. And you try to simplify it. And at some point, it's sort of like you find this like magical moment where it all clicks together, where you at the same time you simplify the design, but you also even add another box of features or something like
Mm.
that, or vice versa. And it happens to me a lot. And so the trick is to never take the first thing. You're like, okay, I've solved it. This is done and ready to go. I guarantee you, there's 50 other things that are way better that you just haven't found yet. Just keep trying to find it.
Yeah, I was scrolling down your campaign page here. You have this one great image of 3D printed and milled prototypes, and just like this whole array of prototypes, right,
Hmm.
that are out on the
Oh
floor.
yeah, and that
So
only represents stuff we actually went and made physically. Like, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of more, just in CAD. If you look through our like CAD history, it's just it would shock you.
So do you think you can tell us a little bit about this new campaign that you're launching? And obviously this is a different vertical getting into wallets, kind of tie that to the
Hmm.
phone element as well.
Yeah, I mean the wallet is something I've had my eye on for a long time as well. I've made several wallet prototypes. Me and my other engineer here, my buddy, we both just like milling things, printing things. And the wallet as a sort of a mousetrap, quote unquote, type of product is someone's always got a better idea, right? And for
Mm,
us, it was, I'm never going to go make a product just because, like, if I don't have any real value to add to a given category, I'm not even going to try, because it's just differentiation is really the key thing that matters these days, obviously, aside from the actual user experience. And so with the wallet, it's something I had my eye on for a long time. And we started getting to the phone accessory space, and people are more and more wanting to mount wallets to their phone. That's not how it started, but I was like, if we can build a system that allows you that feature as an option, but it's not built around that at its center, because you mostly these days you find wallets that are made to not be on the phone and wallets that are made to be on the phone. And I wanted to
mhm.
build one that could be either without a whole lot of compromise. And so it's just about like kind of defining your criteria. What's important about this particular wallet concept? Like, what can we add to the world that's not been done yet? And in this case, it was, there's people who are ultra minimalists out there who really want just the smallest, thinnest possible thing. They don't want extra bulk. There's some people who want to mount wallets to their phone. There's some people who want to carry everything. There's EDC people. And if you're like, we can, and it's usually a slippery slope when you try to solve too many problems at once. You end up with a muddled mess of a product. But in this case, if we added the modularity piece to it, I felt like we were able to do it in a way that wasn't overly compromising any other given way. And the
Mhm.
main challenge with this design approach is cost, and that's been the
Yeah.
biggest challenge.
I mean, it also looks very high quality, right? Looking at
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
different materials that it's made out of, having the premium ones there too, like carbon fiber, it looks really
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, that was a sort of another business model thing. Was we found more and more that people love customizing stuff, and they love adding personality and expressing themselves, through the stuff that they carry and interact with every day. And so that was another key sort of constraint or design goal with the wallet, was to allow that expression in a cost effective way for the end user, which is via these cover plates you mentioned, with carbon fiber, copper, steel,
Mhm.
titanium, aluminum, whatever.
So let me ask you a question here. I mean, you've obviously been designing products for a long time, and you eventually get on a Kickstarter with your one, massive campaign, and it's kind of put you on the roadmap there. And you had that other successful company. For someone listening to us, it can seem kind of intimidating, right? And even just to understand the difference between a small campaign and like a multi-million-dollar one, what do you really feel like is the secret sauce, or what really led to that massive breakthrough for you? Was it just the fact you had the right product? Was it plowing money into marketing? Like how do you feel like you could articulate that? to the listener?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. I mean, Kickstarter is a nebulous beast. It's really hard to pinpoint success sometimes, and I think Kickstarter has really evolved, honestly, in the last 5 years in a pretty significant way. Where you kind of go and look at, if you sort by trending projects, kind of overall across all categories. You just like, okay, so it's a board game company. I mean, it's like literally, 80% of it seems to be, the big stuff seems to be board games. And I think that speaks to the user base of Kickstarter, right? It's turning into more and more of a certain type of person. And so I think it's just knowing who your audience is and bringing your own audience into the fold as much as possible, because there's so much of it's built on trust. And so for us, we kind of already had established a brand, had a previous successful campaign, which really helps a lot. We had a big list to start with, which is also really important. As most people probably know by now, with Kickstarter, you really have to pop on day one. That's like the most important thing. And so you really have to have an audience that's ready for whatever it is you're trying to share with them on the day. And you have to drive a lot of traffic on day one. And if you can't do that successfully, it just makes the rest of it a lot harder. And so, my advice would be, is what I tell people all the time is, your product has to like make people go, oh, wow, that's interesting, or that's different, or that's cool, or it really has to evoke an emotion in people as much as possible. That's just, marketing products 101. I mean, it's even more so on Kickstarter, because Kickstarter is a marketplace of a lot of those types of like wow products, but that's also part of its problem, because so many of those products have failed ultimately and never shipped anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do that, but you also have to build trust into the campaign via showing your competent, group of people behind it, either by past successes, making a really good video, making a really good campaign page, over communicating, and because those subtle cues and hints that aren't really expressed outwardly, but like you get sort of intuitively as you read through the campaign page or you watch the video, like, okay, these guys put together a really nice video. That means they're generally competent people and will probably have a higher success rate of shipping this stuff that I'm
Yeah.
hoping they ship. Physical products are just hard, especially in today's world. I mean, 3 years ago, even it was much different, much easier. Shipping logistics has got more complicated, more expensive, and everything is just getting harder. And so, I think people feel that. And so, A, make a great product. B, make a great video. Spend a lot of time on that as much as you can. And I'm lucky where I have that background.
Yeah.
And so video is sort of second nature to me. And so we can in-house that and we can make good stuff. But I would spend a lot of time studying successful Kickstarter, like go look at the most successful campaigns and study it, look for patterns and try to kind of pick apart the formula the best you can. I'm sure there's courses and stuff out there too about this. And then make a good campaign page and make sure you're communicating well. And then drive traffic to the page any way you can. Not everyone has a budget to throw into it, but there are some agencies that will actually front you which helps you with the ongoing generating ongoing traffic to your page through the length of the campaign. But on the upfront part, there's a lot of strategy and stuff like that goes into that as well. If we can dive into more if you're interested. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other really interesting thing I noticed, aside from having great hand models, right, and all of your gifts, is that you very clearly demonstrate like every little function in a really cool way, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
it's even just could be a very quick GIF, but instantly just scrolling down the page, like you get a sense of how it works. And like I said,
Yep.
really great hand models as well. I'm not sure if that's you or if you got someone doing that.
No, it's not me. It's just other guys that work here, and so again, it's clarity, man. There's a popular saying, clarity trumps persuasion. In reality, it's a nice mix of those two things. You just want to get across the key points of the value proposition, the benefits, or whatever you want to call it, as quickly and clearly as possible, because people are just so overloaded and frantic these days. You have like 5 seconds to make an impression with someone.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing that I kind of want to ask you is your background with e-commerce, right? And eBay and these things. How do you feel like the marketing to the Kickstarter crowd is different? Are you talking more about like the creation of the product or the story behind it? Do you find that people resonate with that? Or do you think it's really just commercial nowadays when it comes to it?
Man, I don't know. I honestly would like to know the answer to that question, because an interesting thing to note is our first two campaigns, the first two grip products that we launched, will both have done better individually than our wallet campaign will end up. And wallet campaign will probably end up around 500, maybe just shy. And our first campaign did 6 and really 7 to 8 on the back, and then the second one did 1.2, as we said. And the difference between those two campaigns, that the immediate difference is that the first two campaigns had like me, it was more of like a talking head style video where it was me in the video. I was talking directly to the people, and it was marketing-y and commercially or whatever, but it was more like insight into who we were as a company, the people behind the campaign. It was more transparent in that way. Where
Mm,
this video, we chose a more produced, we had like the Morgan Freeman impersonator doing the voiceover, and like no one from the company was like, nobody from the company's face was in the video. I wasn't in the video talking
mhm,
directly to anybody. And so the fact that this campaign is not going to do as well as our other two campaigns, is that related? Is that correlated? I don't know. I honestly think if I had to say from my gut right now, knowing what I know, I would say that I think personal videos do better on Kickstarter. I think people do want to know the people behind the campaign. And so
mhm.
if you mask that, and if you kind of, even if no matter how slick your marketing is, because I would argue, our campaign video for the wallet is probably one of the better campaign videos I've ever seen. And obviously I'm biased. I thought it was just really engaging, really easy to watch. You got through it
Yeah,
really quickly.
very polished.
And yeah, and it did a good job selling the product, I thought. And so, is that the reason why it's not doing as well? Is that just the new thing? It's been 2 years since we did a Kickstarter campaign. Is that just an effect of how things have gone in the world, or is that Kickstarter itself, or what? But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I have the answer to that. I can only
Mhm.
tell you what I just said, really.
When you're talking with your audience basically and kind of warming them up to this new project, are you talking about stuff you're doing behind the scenes at all? Like, do they have a sense of you, as the creator and kind of what you're coming up with your designs, or is it all just product focused?
It's all product, I would say. Yeah, on this time around, this campaign, I would say we autopiloted this campaign more than we have in the past. That's for various reasons. I mean, we're an operating company. This isn't our first thing. We have several other things going on in the background. We're a lean crew, and we're very busy. We
Super
have so
busy,
much
yeah.
other stuff going on, and so that may be part of the reason as well. But we don't kickstart all of our product launches, right? We do it when it makes sense, because Kickstarter allows you to, I don't know, like if we were just to take this wallet, right, and launch it on our website, which we could do, which we did with another series of products earlier in the year. You just don't treat it the same way. We wouldn't have made the same kind of video, which we really enjoyed. Do we love that process of doing that? It's fun. You end up
Mhm.
with a really cool video you can share, and then you get that public notoriety that Kickstarter offers, the publicization or whatever of
Yeah.
the amount you raise. There's like sort of side benefits that come along with that, like people reach out to you that otherwise wouldn't, that can sometimes be useful, and things like
Got
that.
it,
So
got
yeah.
it. One of the questions I had for you as a creator, have you ever seen a product in the wild? Which is kind of like a celebrity moment, right? Have you ever seen someone just like in their everyday life using one of your products and you kind of recognize that?
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's one of the most satisfying things in the world. I can say, like, even at my last company, Small HD, like the first time you saw like a behind the scenes clip, and the monitor, one of our monitors in that, you'd be like, it'd be amazing. Everyone would pass it around. It'd be super exciting internally and whatever. And then after the years go by, now you expect to see it, right? And if I'm like, oh man, they weren't using our stuff, and that's kind of a good barometer for sort of how you're doing. And I'm fortunate in both my companies that I'm talked about, Small HD and Snap, are both products that are used like publicly in public areas. And so yeah, anytime I like watching a sports event or something, right, and then someone's has their phone out recording something, I'm always looking, you know what I mean? And or if you're out in public or at an airport or whatever, you're always looking around trying to see it. And yes, I have seen it once, but we still have a long way to go.
Is that the most rewarding moment for you, or is there another moment that you kind of feel like is like the high point, right? As you being a creator, literally bringing this from idea into something in the real world, right?
It absolutely is one of the highest points, of being a physical product creator. Is that moment. I mean, it's super thrilling, the first time you start to see that stuff, and then as it gets more regular, it's just a great reinforcer, and it's a very emotional, moment that keeps you going for sure.
One kind of follow up there I had was, what do you feel like makes the difference between you and some of the other people out there that maybe do have ideas, but they're just not really bringing them to market? Do you think it really is, like you said in the beginning, just kind of persisting with it, right? And just keep trying it out and working on the problem? What do you feel like makes the difference there? Tough questions today.
It is because not everything can be looked at in a vacuum. Like I
Yeah.
I don't, like with Small HD, I mean, I started that, like I said, in a basement with no money, no experience. I mean, I never went to college, or I barely made it out of high school. I was waiting tables and then switched over to doing this. And I was always been mechanically minded. And I think that's when it comes to physical products. Like if you're not mechanically minded, it's certainly going to be harder if you don't have that ability to like design the stuff yourself, and get the prototypes and work through those, and that kind of thing. But there's never been an easier time in history to make prototypes. Like when I was getting started 15 years ago, 3D printing was just like just coming up, and you still had to pay for it and wait a week for it and all that kind of stuff. And now you can buy a decent 3D printer for $200 and do it at in your house, And so it's my recommendation to people would be, if you're into the physical product thing, like learn CAD. Fusion 360 is inexpensive. There's free ones you can go out there and get even. 3D printer is inexpensive, and you can just start creating, and it's a long road, man. I've been knocked down so many damn times that I can't even count it anymore. And so I've been told so many times by so many people that, I have a ton of grit, and I think that is probably the most important thing for sure.
hmm it sounds like one of the things you're also really good at is kind of organizing people and resources, right?
Yeah. I've also been told I'm a pretty good galvanizer, and I'm pretty good at getting passionate about something, and kind of speaking my vision and getting people excited about stuff I'm working on, and I can attract people pretty easily because of that. And that is a massive asset. I mean, if you're a founder or an inventor, like you are a salesperson, you have to just kind of get over that. If you're not into that, you have to be able to convince people of your vision. Otherwise, you're going to make it really hard on yourself.
Very cool, very cool. Well, first of all, do you have any, final tips or things you'd like to pass on when it comes to doing the Kickstarter campaign? I know that you've obviously had a tremendous amount of success here. Do you have any final parting tips when it comes to doing that?
As far as Kickstarter goes, I would say, if you're listening to this and you have if you're like a game person, a game designer, board game designer, video game designer, do something there. I can't imagine. I'm not into that stuff, but if I was, I'd be all over it, because there seems to be a huge appetite for that stuff on Kickstarter, and those campaigns tend to do really well. And I can't imagine, producing a board game is probably easier than a lot of other things you could go produce. Anything design, tech related is an order of magnitude or two harder, and getting harder and harder to be successful with on Kickstarter, because you're starting to see more and more brands like us being the ones behind these tech campaigns on Kickstarter. And the sort of like the idea that you can make a tech or design product. And by design, I mean like a widget,
hmm
and throw it on Kickstarter, with little budget and little experience, and just hoping you're going to get found on Kickstarter. That those days are sort of over. So you have to either go partner with an agency that can help kind of promote you, and if you don't have a video background, that adds a layer of difficulty. I don't want to discourage anybody, because it can be done, but you just have to, it's about, identifying where your strengths are, really going all in on that, and then trying to sell yourself and your idea to other people who can bring those other strengths to the table, like marketing, video creation,
hmm
logistics, and and capital if you need it.
Very cool. And when it comes to the MagSnap wallet, are there any things you'd like to communicate there? I know we went over it a little bit before. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave people with when it comes to your current campaign?
Yeah, I'd say if you're interested in a really cool thin modular wallet, check it out. It's called MagSnap Wallet. It's on Kickstarter right now. I think the campaign ends in 7 or 8 days. But then, after that, we'll be going for pre-order on our website. We'll be shipping them in July. So it's not a super long wait. It's already in early production, and we're already getting samples from the supplier and everything. So things are going really well. But yeah, it's really quite different from anything that's ever been done before. So if you're just curious about it, just go check it out.
Yeah, I love the MagSnap plate. That's super cool.
Yeah.
How you
Mm-hmm.
guys can do that.
Yep.
And yeah, it's insane to me, honestly, the level of innovation and like that you've been able to cram into that one tiny little product. There's just a
Yep.
lot that it can do, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and stuff like that. It's just, we've been working on this concept for over a year, and I'm always seeding, different ideas, different times into the pipeline here. And then, the key is not rush things out. I mean, if you have to, you have to. I've been there as well. But just again, if you can really just be really honest with yourself and say, is this really adding value to the world? Is this just another of the same? Is this
Mhm.
more of the same? Otherwise, you're gonna make things really hard on yourself.
Cool. So I just have two more questions for you. One is, I see you've also backed a lot of campaigns. I'm sure you also buy a lot of
Yeah.
interesting products. Do you have any that you really admire, like as a fellow designer, as a creator? Are there any that you really admire, new products that have recently come out in the last year or two?
I honestly, to be perfectly honest, haven't backed much. I backed like 50 something campaigns, but most of that hasn't been in the past couple of years. I don't think I've backed anything in the past couple of years on Kickstarter. Like a company I have backed several times repeatedly is Nomadic, which is like bags, like travel bags and backpacks and stuff like that. Um, and they've been good. In fact, I was just traveling last week and my Nomadic backpack broke, and I'm waiting on a response from their support team, which I still haven't gotten yet. So if they're listening, come on.
Yeah, shout out.
But yeah, yeah. But in general, though, they've been really good. That's been a general. I generally have been really happy with their products, and honestly, like that's really the only thing that comes to mind. A lot of the stuff has just been like really gadgety, niche-y stuff. And I mean, I've backed 50 something campaigns. I probably haven't gotten 20 of them. You know how that goes.
Understood. Okay, so my final question for you is, if you could speak directly to the listeners and we can end on this note, you could either leave them with maybe something that you wish you knew when you were just getting started with your first project. It could be a word of encouragement, it could be a final tip, it could be, something to be aware of, anything like that, or even a final tool.
Yeah. Something I wish I had known when I got started is leave yourself enough time on the schedule. So when you say you're going to ship it by X date, be as conservative as possible. I found that people, especially these days, they're not usually going to, the decision to back it or not is usually not going to lie in the time frame that you present. Just make sure you hit the time frame, because that's when things get really toxic on Kickstarter, is when you start missing timelines over and over again. And so really bake yourself in some grace period in there for things to go wrong, because they will, especially if it's your first product and that product is physical, even more so. And then just make sure you over communicate. I've just found more and more how hard it is to cut through the noise and communicate something even reasonably complicated clearly enough where people get it the first time. So repeat yourself as much as you can. Don't exhaust your email list, and really try to respect that is another good thing we've learned. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Well said. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll be sure to link up the campaign in the show notes, and good luck with your remaining days here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you for joining me here today. I hope that you took away some good techniques, lessons, and at least if nothing else, you feel a little bit inspired going into your next Kickstarter campaign. Man, this is all about success. And success is a very big word, and that can mean things to a lot of different types of people. So it could mean in terms of funding success. It could mean in terms of making your mark on the world, in terms of building your brand, etching your brand into the minds of your consumers. It could be even building a huge base, a tribe, people that are excited about new products that you're coming out with. Building success could be for you when you actually deliver those products and people can actually try them out and they can give you feedback. They post photos on Instagram. They can share it with all of their friends. So success means a lot of different things for different people. And in some cases, honestly, we'll be on a coaching call and my student just kind of is more interested in seeing what they're capable of. And they're like, Sal, I've been trying to launch a product for so long and it just hasn't been working. And I just need a little bit of guidance. I need a little bit of hand holding. I'm really looking for a mentor. I'm looking for guidance, mentorship. I'm looking for help. I'm looking for a step-by-step process that will take me through this, answering all of the questions, as well as supporting documentation, worksheets, templates, those kinds of things that are just kind of plug and play that will help me get this thing off the ground. And I don't want it to cost me a fortune. Other things, I'll have a student and being like, you know what, Sal, I got to be honest with you, man. Like ever since I've been in this coaching program or ever since I've been doing coaching calls with you, I just feel so inspired. I feel so excited. I'm always moving every single week towards my goals. And because you're telling me to do these things, I go out and I do them, right? I was talking with another student who was like, Sal, I've been trying to do this for so long and I have been procrastinating for so long. I am just so happy that we are making progress now. And I was like, so what really was holding you back all that time? And they're like, you know what? Honestly, it was just fear, right? You don't know what you don't know in this industry. And sometimes that fear, that uncertainty can literally be paralyzing. And it can cause you to just kind of no longer make momentum, no longer make progress, no longer make decisions. And you start to just put off this project, put it off. You start to make excuses, right? You start to come up with reasons why you just haven't executed on this thing yet. And obviously some of those reasons can be valid, but more often than not, they are excuses, my friend. And you really have to push past so many different obstacles and so many different barriers. You really have to want something to exist in this world in order for it to happen. And a lot of the times, this is just kind of the barrier or the obstacle, or I'd almost just say the doorway to success. If you want to go through the doorway to success, you got to climb a couple of steps first. This isn't one of those doorways that just on the same level or even going down the stairs. You got to climb up some of those steps to that doorway before you can go through it. So one of the things that I like to help out students with is that I actually do Kickstarter mentorship. So this is kind of like coaching on steroids, okay? So coaching, you have one-off coaching calls. You guys can learn more about that, obviously, in other links that I have on my website at crowdcrux.com. But For those of you that are really looking for more guidance, more hand-holding, more of a sense of mentorship, you want someone to really hold your hand every step of the way. You want to be able to interact with other people that are also going through this process. You want to discover some tactics that you can actually use to triple your funding and breakthrough strategies that can get you results. I'm talking about really having a trained expert on your side, as well as access to other people who can help you when it comes to launching a crowdfunding campaign right. This is, to me, one of the best investments that you can make in yourself, in your team, and in the process. And if you've been listening to my work or other people's work or whatever it is, and you feel like that you are right there, like you're so close to launching this, but you just want to make sure that you do it right. You want to make sure that you're giving yourself ample time. You want to make sure that even if you're going live in the next couple of weeks, that you have someone on your side, in your corner, to make sure that this goes right. This is exactly why I built this entire mastermind community for you that will teach you exactly how to smash your goal on Kickstarter. This is literally the launch formula that I've seen, that I've used, that I've had so many different testimonials on, that have gotten people results, that have got them funding, that have got them a huge tribe of people that are excited to be a part of their community, and literally launches new brands into the world. It launches new companies. That's literally what Kickstarter is designed to do. And again, these are proven strategies and launch sequence techniques that, boom, they literally just work. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you and you want to learn more about this in terms of how to get instantly funded, how to engineer a viral Kickstarter campaign, what about your pitch video? If you also want access to me on a regular basis, I'm talking monthly, I'm talking, being able to give you feedback on different elements of your video, of your pitch, of all that kind of stuff. If this sounds interesting to you, go to the link I'm about to mention and you can discover more about this mastermind community and specifically about this Kickstarter mentorship package. Go to this link at crowdcrux.com/VIP. That link again is crowdcrux, crowdcrux.com/VIP. That's crowdcrux.com/VIP. Just go to that link and you'll be able to learn more about what I'm talking about right now. Again, that link is crowdcrux.com/VIP. And you can check out more when it comes to this. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Please give me a positive rating and review if you did enjoy this episode, and I will see you next time.